On this day 25 years ago, the horrors of the Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania shook the nation and reverberated around the world. 35 people were killed in what was, at the time, the worst mass shooting by a single person on record. Joining us live now is gun control advocate Rebecca Peters. Rebecca, appreciate your time. I understand you were the chair of the Australian National Coalition for Gun Control at the time of the massacre. In hindsight, from this perspective, the tightening of gun laws that were made then don't seem that controversial. Just how difficult were they to get through, though, to prosecute, to campaign for 25 years ago?
Yes, Ash, it seems surprising now when we look back, like what was all the fuss about? But up until Port Arthur, although it was really clear that the gun laws needed changing in Australia because we had different laws in each state, and in some states the laws were very loose indeed, there was a fear by both of the major political parties that if they took the initiative to tighten the gun laws, that the pro-gun lobby would campaign against them in elections. And so that was why it was very bitterly fought, really. There was a very vocal opposition, and both parties were afraid to do what they knew needed to be done before Port Arthur. But the amazing thing was when Port Arthur happened, John Howard said, well, if that's, I heard him recently say he thought, well, if a government can't fix this problem and save lives, what is a government for? And he showed the courage to do that.
And thank goodness he did. 25 years on, though, Rebecca, are our gun laws now optimal? Are they the best that they can be here in Australia?
Well, we have among the strongest gun laws in the world, and we're so far the only country to have done a really comprehensive reform of our gun laws. And so the main tenets of the gun laws, which is registration of all guns, a ban on semi-automatic weapons, and requirement to prove a reason for each gun, are still there, although over 25 years some gaps have emerged. So, for example, we never got the national connection between the sort of national registration that we should have got from all the state and territory registers working together. So that's still yet to be achieved. And also there are some states where there's been watering down of the laws. But basically, 25 years later, the laws still stand as a memorial to those people who were killed and injured on that day. And it's important to remember that they came at a very, very high cost.
Do you still worry, though, about the sheer number of guns that are still out there, both registered in Australia, but also those that perhaps haven't been registered?
Well, it's difficult to know how many guns are not registered because, of course, if they're not registered, they can't be counted. But we know that the strengthening of the gun laws has really cut down on the black market because it's made it much more difficult for guns to enter the black market. The number of guns in Australia now is more than it was 25 years ago, but they're in the hands of the proportion of the population that owns guns is smaller. So our population has increased over 25 years. So what we have now is that a smaller proportion of the population owns guns, but those people that own them do own more guns. They own an average of 4 guns each. And that is a worry for me because no, we don't like to think that there are arsenals being built up in the suburbs around Australia. And actually, an average of 4 guns each, it's hard to really think. It makes me think the laws are not being enforced as strictly as they should be, because it shouldn't really be possible for people to justify that many guns. But at least the people who own guns now have gone through a much stronger system of vetting than before. But definitely, given the apparent accumulation of arsenals basically in people's houses, I think it's worth looking again at least at how this is happening and whether the laws are being enforced well enough.
Do you have any optimism at all, Rebecca, about the situation in the United States when it comes to reforming gun laws there? Or when you look at just how difficult this issue is in the States, is it pretty much a lost cause?
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so heartbreaking. I mean, every day or two there seems to be another tragedy there. And even though President Biden is trying to get some things through, obviously without the cooperation of the Congress, and even more important, without the cooperation of state legislatures, state by state, it's certainly going to be very hard to have any impact. I think it's difficult for us to understand, like, how is it that, what will it take for Americans to just demand a change? There are some states in America which are making progress, but of course, when the laws are state by state, they have the same problem that we had, that the weak laws in one jurisdiction undermine the strong ones elsewhere. I do have some hope because there's some of the progress that has been made at state level. But I think when I think of the victims of the family members of those American victims, they don't have the small positive sliver of hope that, for example, the Port Arthur victims have, which is Port Arthur victims' families know that their relatives are commemorated in stronger gun laws. And at the moment, that isn't really the case for the Americans.
Rebecca Peters, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for your advocacy on this issue for so many years now. I know a lot of Australians are pretty grateful that the Prime Minister John Howard made that decision when he did. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.